this country once had a moral fabric of personal responsibility.
The government does not instill the morals. They should live by them.
Recently, we've had a rash of people choosing killing as a way to cope with problems. When confronted by people wanting to know why God allows this to happen, how do we respond?
The question of losing our moral bearings is absolutely crucial here. I think all of us are aware that there's something wrong with this country for the social work majors here when 1 out of every 4 teenage girls, and I said girls, between the age of 13 and 19, 1 out of 4 already has a sexually transmitted disease. I'm not talking about how many have had sexual intercourse. I'm talking about how many have a sexually communicated disease, gonorrhea, syphilis, AIDS. 1 out of 4. Something's going wrong on the moral fabric of this country. And if what you're talking about, and I think it is what you're talking about, how do we revitalize those values that say premarital sex is not a good thing, that adultery is not a good thing? How do we maintain the family? As a matter of fact, we were talking about the gay issues just a moment ago. I think that's the biggest cop-out that's ever come down the pike. The American family is falling apart, but it's the heterosexuals that are getting divorces. The gays want to get married. And if you can't see the irony of that. So I hear what you're saying. So many Americans feel that this country once had a moral fabric of personal responsibility. And we're not living up to that anymore. How do we revitalize that? We don't go shopping for a new set of morals, that's true. But the question is, can the government instill moral values? Interestingly enough, I served on the Democratic Platform Committee at the Democratic Convention this year, and we actually got abstinence written into the Democratic platform, that we're not going to solve the problems that we're facing unless we begin to teach abstinence in the public school system. That's what I mean when I say Christians should be in both parties. The Republican Party has long taught abstinence. Now the Democratic Party is saying, we're going to pick it up, we're going to preach it too. We're going to say the same thing. But I got to tell you this, when it's all said and done, the government is not the problem is the church. The church has not, in fact, created a moral sense of responsibility in this country. The church has failed, and it's about time we stop asking the president to be first pastor. He's just the first leader. He's commander-in-chief, not pastor-in-chief.
Right.
You got exactly to the heart of what I wanted to say. The government does not instill the morals. They should live by them. And it's the church's responsibility to see to it that the government does that.
Yeah. Now, one thing to be said about this emphasis on Christianity. You may not have liked all the people that said the prayers at the inauguration, but they were all Christians. That was very interesting. I don't know whether you realize that that's the first time in American history that this has been the case.
Really?
Usually, a rabbi has one prayer, a priest has another prayer, a minister has another prayer, that in fact they tried to show the pluralism of American religion in the inauguration. This is the first time that all the prayers were given by ministers. That was a really interesting phenomenon that sociologists are trying to figure out, what does that mean? So it's an interesting question.
What would it be like if one of them had been a Muslim?
There would have been an uproar, I think. I think there would have been an uproar. And I think that President Obama knew that. I think he knew that.
With a name like Hussein Obama or whatever it is, bless his heart, that's a horrible name to have to wear around.
Well, what about Tony Campolo?
Well, it's not like Tony Hussein Campolo. That'd be a triple
What about
threat.
Tony Mafia Campolo?
You know what this means?
No, what is that?
It means in the mafia, Kathy Tricoli told me this because she's got uncles that are in the mafia. She said when they do this, that means they're going to go break somebody's nose.
Yeah. Well, I love her line. One time she said to me, just because I'm Italian, you think that all of my relatives are in the mafia? They're not. Some of them are in the witness protection program.
Okay, we got some questions from the internet too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Recently, we've had a rash of people choosing killing as a way to cope with problems. Alabama, all these rash killings going on. When confronted by people wanting to know why God allows this to happen, how do we respond? We've talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about this.
But these rash killings, what is happening in our country? Or are we just hearing about it more?
No, there is, sociologically, for the social work majors that are here, Emil Durkheim, who is one of the great thinkers in the field, perhaps the creator of modern sociology, would say that there is a breakdown of social order. The family is falling apart. The educational institutions are falling apart. Certainly Wall Street. I mean, there's no morality left on Wall Street anymore, is there? I mean, with what we've seen happen with Madoff and the greed of the fiscal institutions.
And your 401k is now a
201k.
I love that line.
Right. But I mean, the whole system's, I mean, who do you have confidence in? There's what we call the increasing of social disorganization. With social disorganization comes a particular social psychological phenomena, which you as a social psychology major probably ought to pick up. A concept that isn't used very much. Anomy. A-N-O-M-I. Anomy. Anomy is the subjective emotions that one experiences when one is in the context of a disorganized setting. If you're at a meeting and nothing's, this feeling that you get, it's anomy. If the family's falling apart, your family's falling apart, you feel anomy. Anomy, points out Durkheim, leads to all kinds of other social problems. Suicide, drug addiction, murder. The more anomy you have, the more you have in the way of crime and the breakdown of society.
hopelessness.
There is a collapse in this country right now, and it's quite a frightening thing to see. It's permeating the whole society.
And God lets this happen because free will. There you go. There's your answer. Free will.
Free will.
And it's sad when people come to that place where they just want to go shoot people. I don't get it myself. I've been mad enough to shoot one or two, but not a whole crowd.